we're negotiating. All right, I'm coming in real high. All right, and beyond that, he's a great player. All right, and I am of the, if they get a package that they like, where they can presumably draft another, like a top receiver in the draft, then by all means, move on. I am not of the mentality, though, that they have to get rid of him, that it's addition by subtraction. I don't get that. I don't love his foolishness, his distractions and all that, but teams can win with a diva-like receiver or distractions. They proved it a year ago. They won the Super Bowl with him reading books on the sidelines. Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl with Antonio Brown. All right? I know it got ugly at the end, but they won the Super Bowl with him. And so
they are light years apart as far as
Antonio was worse than this.
That's what he said.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think
And they
A.J.
still
Brown
won the Super Bowl.
It has to be close.
Right, but I'm just saying, an even worse distraction, and they were able to win the Super Bowl. So that's where I'm at on this. And I also think this, Nick, Sean Mannion, and I don't want to make him out like he's, the next Kyle Shanahan. I'm just saying, he does come from a nice tree. He just was in Green Bay with LaFleur. He's played for McVay and all these guys, Kevin O'Connell. I am sure his first order of business in his mind is, this is how I'm going to get the most out of A.J. Brown. He knows what Jalen can and can't do, and this is what I'm going to do to get the most out of A.J. Brown. So, again, I'm not against trading him, Nick, but I am against just giving him away and thinking it's addition by subtraction.
So I do think the Trent McDuffie trade just made this harder for other teams to acquire him.
Yeah, of course.
Why? Well, I mean, do you think, who do you think is more valuable in this league, Trent McDuffie or A.J. Brown? It's at least close. And McDuffie just went for a 1, a 3, a 5, and a 6. And so when the reporting had been teams are willing to give up a 2, the Eagles want a first plus. If I'm Howie Roseman, I'm like, see, that's why. Want a first plus. A team just, wide receivers considered a more premium position than corner. AJ's under contract. Trent is going to get the biggest new contract. Like, that kind of emboldened, in theory, Howie Roseman's position on what he deserves for it. With that said, the Eagles are patently out of their minds if he's on the roster week 1. It is, I wouldn't give him away for nothing because you won't have to. Teams will make you legitimate offers. Maybe not what the Chiefs got for McDuffie, but I'm certain they right now could get a solid second-round pick for A.J. Brown. And if that's the best you get offered, then you've got to take it. Because, Brew, you're right. You can win with the disgruntled receiver for a time, and then you must move on. Like Antonio Brown, you're right, while it's a different story, he moved on himself. But Stephon Diggs, was disgruntled for a bit, moved on in both places. Randy in New England, eventually you have to move on. T.O. at multiple stops, but including in Philly, got to a Super Bowl, was unbelievable. At some point, though, you got to move on. And I believe, and this is where I'm surprised by it, I thought we all believed that the Eagles regretted, once they saw how the season ended, we probably should have traded him at the deadline.
Absolutely not. That particular take is fundamentally flawed and warrants immediate rejection. The Philadelphia Eagles were positioned to defeat the San Francisco 49ers, and A.J. Brown would have undoubtedly played a significant role in that outcome. Yes, he dropped a pass. Such occurrences are part of the game. Devonta Smith dropped a pass as well. There were numerous dropped passes throughout that contest, and I refuse to attribute that to some narrative about A.J. Brown being disgruntled. Let us examine the facts. A.J. Brown was technically disgruntled last season, according to various reports, yet he delivered several monumental catches throughout the playoff run. That narrative can be dismissed categorically. Sometimes players drop passes. Sometimes quarterbacks throw interceptions. Sometimes running backs fumble. Christian McCaffrey fumbled in the Super Bowl. Was that because he was disgruntled? Was he unprepared for the moment? No. He simply fumbled in the Super Bowl. It happens. I am not going to overanalyze that singular moment or game. Keeping A.J. Brown made 100% sense, and there should be zero regret about that decision. I reject that entire line of thinking wholeheartedly. The broader conversation about disgruntled receivers has become increasingly detached from reality. Tyreek Hill was consistently fed the football both in Kansas City and Miami, yet he expressed unhappiness in both locations. George Pickens was receiving targets regularly and just secured a substantial contract. Had he not delivered an exceptional season with the Dallas Cowboys, that massive payday would not have materialized. Instead, analysts now discuss him as having arguably the best season among wide receivers, or at minimum ranking among the top 2 or 3 depending on your preferred metrics. Now he is positioned to receive legitimate compensation with organizational commitment to the point where decision-makers explicitly expressed desire to retain him. Yet he was disgruntled. He was criticized by media for supposedly giving up. He was photographed in Vegas. All of it amounted to nothing. The pattern reveals itself consistently. Players experience dissatisfaction regardless of their circumstances. How happy do we imagine Jamar Chase felt this season? Justin Jefferson? Jalen Waddle? I would genuinely like to know. I invite commentary on that question. The notion that unhappiness correlates directly with specific situations collapses under scrutiny. These players express discontent across varying contexts. A.J. Brown was visibly frustrated during the 2022 playoffs while being consistently targeted during a Super Bowl run. He had escaped Tennessee, joined forces with his best friend at the time, operated within an elite offensive system alongside Jalen Hurts and Shane Steichen, reached the Super Bowl, and still expressed dissatisfaction. There were no concerns about the passing game then, no questions about Jalen Hurts. That would be pure revisionist history. Nobody advanced those arguments until midway through 2023 into 2024. Nobody discussed those narratives in 2022. Nobody. Yet A.J. Brown was still expressing frustration during that period. Interestingly, during the 2023 season, when the Eagles encountered genuine struggles and entered what could be described as a supernatural funk, his complaints diminished. There is no logical pattern to much of this discourse. It lacks coherence. What I find particularly amusing is the contrast in framing. Nick, in his previous segment discussing the Kansas City Chiefs trade, emphasized that this is what great organizations do. This is their operational model. This is what they did with Tyreek Hill. Yet the Philadelphia Eagles operate similarly. They understand organizational dynamics. Even if circumstances suggested they wanted to retain A.J. Brown, hypothetical disaster scenarios envisioning organizational collapse overlook fundamental realities. If the Eagles made Brown available, he would command significant compensation because numerous teams would pursue him aggressively. Interested parties would not adopt a position of, well, he seems unhappy there, so we can acquire him at a discount. The calculus is far simpler. Either you want the player or you do not. Consider the Buffalo Bills. They possess genuine momentum and appear positioned for a sustained run. The question becomes binary. Do you want the player or not? Concerns about internal dynamics within the selling organization are irrelevant to the buying organization's evaluation. The relevant question is whether you want him. The Eagles are not offering him gratuitously. The inquiry becomes, do you want him or not? Do you aspire to win the Super Bowl? Who operates from a position of greater desperation in any potential negotiation? Certainly not the Philadelphia Eagles. This dynamic holds particular force in mid-season scenarios when injuries create urgent needs for contending teams. Who is more desperate in that moment? The Eagles or the Broncos, the Patriots, the Bills, the Ravens? Any organization believing we can win this Super Bowl becomes inherently desperate. The Eagles' position becomes, you can have A.J. Brown. Compensate us accordingly. That is how transactions function. The dynamic differs for franchises like the Tennessee Titans facing organizational collapse, where circumstances suggest an obligation to facilitate a player's departure to enable competitive opportunity. The Eagles have delivered Brown to 2 Super Bowls. He has participated in the playoffs every season since joining Philadelphia and has ranked among league leaders in major receiving categories throughout his entire tenure with the organization. The Philadelphia Eagles owe A.J. Brown absolutely nothing. Nothing whatsoever. They possess all leverage entirely. They maintain established culture and roster construction that would hardly collapse without him. The repeated narratives about impending Eagles' downfall become increasingly amusing. Let us examine the record. They experienced problems in 2023 and reached the playoffs. They experienced problems in 2024, according to various reports, and won the Super Bowl. They experienced problems in 2025 and secured the division title plus playoff appearance. The retort about not winning the Super Bowl or playoff games conveniently ignores that most teams do not accomplish either feat. Did the Jacksonville Jaguars, with their promising young core and celebrated coaching staff, win a playoff game? No. Did the Buffalo Bills, despite their perennial contention, reach the AFC Championship game? No. They fell to the Denver Broncos. Did the New England Patriots navigate their season without such problems? They were thoroughly dominated in the Super Bowl. The Baltimore Ravens? Did they advance? No. The San Francisco 49ers? They were absolutely humiliated by the Seattle Seahawks. The suggestion that internal discord explains playoff outcomes becomes particularly absurd when examining organizations ostensibly free of such issues. The Los Angeles Rams maintained internal stability. Did they reach the Super Bowl? No. The Chicago Bears avoided significant controversy. Did they appear in the NFC Championship game during their promising second-year quarterback campaign with a celebrated new coaching staff and aggressive offseason acquisitions? No. The Green Bay Packers, free of reported dysfunction, could not defeat the Bears. The outcome does not serve as conclusive evidence regarding organizational health or dysfunction. That framework represents analytical nonsense. The Eagles operate from maximum positional strength. They demonstrate comfort and confidence because they have genuinely established sustainable culture. Their capacity to withstand various challenges throughout seasons speaks volumes. Contrast this with the Dallas Cowboys, repeatedly characterized as the most dangerous playoff participant if they could simply qualify. How did that projection materialize? Did they make the playoffs? I genuinely cannot recall watching Cowboys football last season. The narrative insisted this was the NFL's most dangerous team poised to emerge from the NFC. They failed even to reach the postseason. They experienced humiliation against the Detroit Lions in a game that generated extensive criticism. Meanwhile, George Pickens, the Eagles, they defeated the Detroit Lions. Was it aesthetically perfect? No. Did they secure victory? Yes. The discourse has become so muddled that participants often lose comprehension of the actual conversation or its implications. Multiple pathways exist for the Philadelphia Eagles. Multiple strategic options remain available. Let there be no ambiguity. The Eagles hold all leverage in any potential A.J. Brown discussions. Any organization seeking to acquire him operates from greater desperation. This is not a franchise mired in dysfunction. This is not the Tennessee Titans. This is not the Las Vegas Raiders. This is not the Cleveland Browns, organizations where the imperative becomes extracting a player from a toxic environment. That narrative does not apply here. I will conclude by addressing a specific erroneous perspective. The notion that the offensive coordinator's primary objective involves maximizing A.J. Brown fundamentally misunderstands organizational priorities. The objective is maximizing Jalen Hurts, facilitating his continued development, simplifying his responsibilities. The goal is not elevating A.J. Brown to stardom. That has never been the operational philosophy. That approach has yielded 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 championship, and one of the most prolific offensive and defensive runs in NFL history. Just stating facts. Those constitute my perspectives. I am genuinely interested in your viewpoints regarding the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown. Does this situation position them better or worse? I anticipate producing additional content over the weekend, addressing another discussion I noticed in thumbnail form, the Kyler Murray versus Jalen Hurts comparison. I lack the immediate energy to address that topic comprehensively, but a dedicated video will follow, given the magnitude of that particular take. Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every response, regardless of whether alignment exists with my analysis. Agreement or disagreement matters less than fostering substantive discussion and perhaps spirited debate, though ultimately the objective remains enjoying the conversation. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We are cultivating an exceptional community, and I would genuinely welcome your participation. My aspiration involves creating something fostering authentic connection, generating genuine excitement about membership. I believe we progress meaningfully toward that objective. Please remember to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely supports visibility and algorithmic reach. Thank you sincerely. I will see you in the next video.